Welcome back to another episode of Tyranny. Before we continue on, we have one more thing to do, and that's talk to our new companion.
You look as if you have something on your mind. By all means.
Placing his weapon to his side, Barik salutes you, the joints of his armor groan in protest. I'd like to know more about you. I am the line your enemies cannot cross. All other details are meaningless, but I suspect you have more thirst for details, so ask away. Did you seek the trade of war, or did it find you? Both, I suppose. I knew fighting was in my blood, and the disfavored offered me the chance to use my skill to bring peace. Otherwise, I'd have wound up some brigand or an enforcer to a crooked merchant. Barik taps his scabbard, looking away in thought. You think Ash and his legions bring peace? That's cute, but it doesn't hold water from where I stand, big guy. I've seen them spill as much blood as any chorus gang. You've clearly been too busy sacking villages and stealing crops to notice how a proper army conducts a war. We sow order, not discord. Let's see, we want to gain loyalty with Barik right now. Barik is right. The Scarlet Course is too chaotic to recognize order. You two are worse than Ash, and the voices stop this once. Too chaotic. Yep. I can see that you're beginning to understand. The chorus is a useful tool to throw at one's enemy, but it grows brittle with age, and it is soon replaced. The disfavored needed recruits in anticipation of the march south. They offered to care for my mother and brother as long as I stayed with the Legion, which is a better guarantee that you'll find anywhere else. I was an elite fighter as far as most were concerned, although still green by disfavored standard. Luckily for everyone, my skill improved under the Iron Marshal's rigorous training. Tell me about your name. Barik, short for my northern surname, which is passed down through generations since Graven Ash assembled his army. I go by it because I wear it with pride. The proper form is Barik Onin. Beyond its age and association with the General Legion, the name Barik Onin has no great title association. I hold no claims to a great house or legacy, save for the disfavored. They are all the kin I need. What's the story with your armor?
It is a symbol of Kairos' will, one that I am not likely to forget. I found this armor. Perhaps it would be better to say that it found me during the Edict of Storms.
I proclaim that edict. Where were you when it struck? I was in the field, even though I knew the people of Stalwart would receive no warning. Duty compelled me to march on the stronghold in the heart of the realm. There was important work I left unfinished. You were chosen to pronounce the Edict of Storms that devastated the realm of Stalwart. At the behest of the disfavored, you gave the people of Stalwart no warning of the edict to come. The enemy deserved no mercy. Our march was a hasty one. A cohort of disfavored soldiers vanished in the second year of the war, among them the daughter of Ashen Grave. After a long silence, we learned that she was held in the fortress of Sentinel Stand. Go on. We surrounded the citadel. I heard the opening pearls of thunder, as did the scout I was busy trying to kill. Then the winds hit like an avalanche. Many of us begged Kairos for deliverance. What else were we to do? The winds knocked the legs of our offense out from under us. All our decorated soldiers I brought to the battle were swept up and dashed to pieces, their armor and bodies mixing with the dirt of a tornado that spun in maddening revolutions. A piece of the citadel wall broke off and nearly crushed my skull. I only remember a few scattered moments from the storm, like the flying bits of bronze and iron cutting my flesh, the severed limbs of fallen soldiers tumbling through the air. Eventually I woke up, thinking myself trapped under the rubble. When I rose, I felt like I was buckling under my own weight. That's when I realized I was stuck. I was struck, right and truly stuck, inside this heap of scrap. Looks like pretty solid protection. That would be an understatement, if only it protected me from foolish questions. Barik regards you in such a way that you can tell he's rolling his eyes. A forlorn sigh escapes his helmet. Do you handle your own repairs? I try to keep the surface oiled, to slow the spreading rust, and I bend the plates from time to time, but repairs, maintenance, no. Back to my questions. As with all disfavored, I assume you grew up in the Northern Empire. That's right, I grew up in Battle's Rest. Then I trained at Fort Resolution before they marched me out to support the second cohort. I hope to spend my rusting years in Freton shores, unless, of course, I die in glorious battle, which would be preferable. Let's speak of something else. Tell me about the disfavored. There's so much talking in this game. We were the Iron Legions, the warrior elite of Kairos' force. I could easily lose count of the hours extolling his glories. What is it you'd like to know? Have you fought in any notable battles? I served in Stalwart for the better part of a year. Faced the enemy everywhere from Coral Run to Sentinel Strand. I lost count of the battles. Seems like we fought every other day. A sigh echoes in the cavern of his helm. Some of our best victories took place there, fighting an enemy worthy of our iron. But we were not successful enough to please the Overlord. And the final intervention was harsh on us all. Barik takes a deep breath, his arms folding as his posture stiffens. Tell me about Ashengrave. Ashengrave is a general of the disfavored, veteran of centuries of battle, and an Archon without peer. I would follow him to the void and back without question. Barik swings his arms in salute. How did he come to serve Kairos? Before uniting the Northern Empire, Ashengrave served as a warlord in the service of one of the local kings that defined Kairos' rule. Incredible as it may seem, Ash stood against Kairos' rule. Though his army was dismantled by Kairos' overwhelming numbers, Ash's forces performed admirably. It was said that he and his troops claimed 77 lives for each of their own. Kairos took an interest in the military genius that bloodied his army. Ashengrave was summoned to a conclave of Archons, and although he was sent in chains, he left it as an Archon, having been granted the position of power in Kairos' great host of war. Thus the disfavored were born. All of us today trace our line back to those warriors that impressed Kairos with their will and tenacity. The only difference now is that we fight on the winning side. Though the general seldom speaks of it, I know that Ash humbled himself in order to spare his troops the brunt of Kairos' punishment. His loyalty to the blood of the North is beyond question. He made the right choice to save his troops, so Ash bent the knee to a conqueror. Okay, I'm just going to choose the loyalty one for now. He made the right choice. And he would make it again to save any of us. There has never been any more of a devoted and attentive leader. Barik makes a proud fist and steps to a salute with the forced clatter of pots and pans. What else do you know of his past? I follow him into battle. I'm not a personal scribe. If I did know more of him, it would not be my place to say. Barik takes a half step, folding his arms across his chest. As an Archon, what magic does he wield? Ash works his magic through us, his soldiers. When we do battle, Ash seems to know the events even before our runners have given the word. Most importantly, though, he protects us. It's a bit tricky to explain unless you've experienced it. I can think of countless times I've been struck by a spear, hit with an axe, and even run in through it with an arrow. And in each of these moments, the pain and injury just ceased to be. How do you feel about Ashengrave? How do I feel about him? Archon Ash is the bravest, warmest, most compassionate general who ever lived. He's a living icon of leadership and courage. Barik tilts his head side to side as far as the suit range permits. Back to my questions about disfavored. What can you tell me about your time in the Legion? I joined the Legion 3 years before the Conquest of Tears began. Though handy with a few weapons, my size made me the perfect addition to the phalanx. I've served with the stone shields ever since. Proud to say I've stood front row, right corner in over a dozen battles. That has been my place ever since the Iron Marshal gave me this assignment. What of the other disfavored lieutenants? They are Ashengrave's most trusted officers and warriors from the Iron Guard. between Ash's arcane powers to command his cadre of gifted leaders, there is little confusion or chaos of the ranks. Tell me of the one they call the Iron Marshal. She takes it upon herself to train and harden our greener recruits. Not only that, she has a keen eye for talent and how to foster it for leadership. What of Karn's disciple, Radix, an Earthshaker who sworn service to Karn a few years before the conquest? Karn is that Archon of Stone guy that got, I think he got killed, didn't he? Archon of Stone, master of earth and soil, destroyer of mountains and cities. Karn is the reluctant leader of the Earthshaker Guild, though he is less of their teacher and more of the object of study. The massive Archon is sworn to Graven Ash and provides Archon support to the disfavored war effort. Maybe I'm wrong. It was someone else. Since Karn is gone, the cult now follows Radix. Maybe he is gone. Unlike his Archon, at least he knows how to follow orders. Yeah, I think Archon got turned to stone. To his credit, Radix seems to appreciate the honor of fighting alongside the disfavored. Karn was always peeved to be invited in the glory. What of the Scoutmaster, Barik? Barik is a devoted leader, and Ash seems to hold his council in high regard. Both set their troops ahead of themselves, which I'm sure was why they work so well together. How about the veteran warrior Varamos? He is the finest of us, second only to Ash. Varamos is an evocatus, a soldier who lived to see the end of his term of service. It's rare for anyone to survive that long, much less willingly return. Back to my questions. Why didn't the Legion prevent the uprising of the Vendrians well? I think that's a question you ought to ask the Scarlet Chorus. They were too charged with ensuring the locals remained vanquished and unarmed. Lurches forward as he speaks, iron plates grinding under his motion. The disfavored are Kairos' elite. It was the duty of theirs to fail. The duty was theirs to fail. Major fear, major loyalty. If the chorus had conscripted more aggressively, perhaps there would not have been an uprising. Average fear would say the Vendrian Guard are really the only guilty party of the rebellion. Okay. Chorus conscripted more aggressively, perhaps there would not have been an uprising. Agreed. We have never relied upon the Scarlet Chorus to win victories, only to recruit in number and secure our holdings. What more can you tell me of the Legion? The disfavored accept only the finest warriors. We are all volunteers and soldiers by trade, not farmers and fishmongers pressed into service. There is a century of tradition, honor, and tactical mastery in our ranks. We don't just let anyone into Legion. Only Northmen of character and prowess are welcome. What if a capable Tiersman wished to join? We would not recruit, even if a champion of the Tiersman. Each soldier in the Legion is tied by blood and fealty to those that stood with Ashton Grave during the coming of Kairos. It is part of who we are, and that will never change. So why is the Legion called the Disfavored? It is a name born in shame, now worn in honor. After Ashton Grave stood against Kairos, he was forced to give up much, his allegiance, his pride, and the name of his vaulted army. What was the Legion called originally? The name has been forgotten by all save Ash and Kairos. It is considered bad form to bring up the topic. But since you didn't know any better, I'll say this much. Disfavored is the only name by which one needs to know us. Let's speak of something else. Back to my previous questions. I have some questions about the Scarlet Chorus. Our allies do not share the disfavored sense of honor and discipline. The Chorus will trust any criminal, rapist, or halfwit with a truncheon or blade. What would you like to know? What do you know of the voices of Nerat? The Archon of Secrets? All I know are rumors, hearsay, speculation. But that's as much as anyone knows of the voices. Some accounts tell these actually dead. The Overlord has trapped the minds of his foes in the same body to torture them all. It's likely an expression as any I've heard. In truth, I know little of the voices and have reason to suspect almost anything about him could be true. You could tell me his tears turned cheese back to into milk, and it would seem more sensible to believe you than not. Do you know anything about his powers? I'm no scholar of sorcery, but as I understand, the voice of Narat is a thief of minds. They say he can swipe your thoughts and make them his own. Do you think him disloyal? I really shouldn't comment on such matters. Barik looks ahead blankly, then clears his throat. I heard his tears can turn cheese into milk. Gain average loyalty. Very amusing, Fatebinder. What do you know of his associate, the Archon Siren? Siren is the Archon of Song and is the youngest of her rank. She can influence human emotion with her voice alone. The voices may be the conductor of the chorus, though I'd argue Siren is their best weapon. Back to my questions. What can you tell me about their troops and tactics? Tactics. These are the first I've heard of them. The chorus is more of an irregular mob than a proper army. Still, it's a well-armed mob, and they even have a few proper warriors and magicians in their pitiful excuse for ranks. What do you know of their warriors? Most of the chorus rats are untrained peasants, handed a knife or a pitchfork. Doesn't take much to qualify you for their front lines. One line needs a beating heart, and even then the chorus could make do. Verse says, Barik is too dismissive by far, and he's right that most of the recruits are novices pressed into service. Most will not survive their first few battles. Those that live will have the experience to lead, and those who fall can easily be replaced. What sort of magic does the chorus use? The blood chanters are the mages who follow the voices of Narat. Like the chorus themselves, their order is not steeped in tradition and antiquity, but rather built on knowledge stolen from other guilds. If the chorus is mob, how is led and supplied? The voices of Narat gives orders to his elite commanders, who in turn send instructions out to gang captains. But beneath that hierarchy, it is chaos. Whole gangs will break from the larger force and disperse back into their homelands. The chorus is inefficient beyond words, and yet more bodies keep coming in to replace the lost in the mess. Inefficient, every weakling lost in the shuffle is one less burden to those in the choir still dancing in the song of battle. Our ways must be harsh, but otherwise the stupid and soft will inherit the chant. The chorus has a lot of mouths to feed, and so the conscripts that can't or won't fight are made to gather food and water, else I'm told they're fed to the pigs, becoming food and water in a sense. Gross. How do you think of the Scarlet Chorus convinced so many tearsmen to join? It began with Siren. She had a song that got whole villages marching to her will, and once these peasants killed their neighbors or cousins in service to the voices, it either hardened them into warriors or broke their mind for servitude. Lots of criminals and drifters joined the chorus too. It seems like the scum of the tears just needs the promise of glory and sanctioned debauchery to turn on their neighbors. It's not pretty, but and it shouldn't be. The chorus is a forge. All the dirt of tears goes in, and the finest bits are refined into weapons. There are many that join the Scarlet Chorus because they wish to join the winning side. It's a shame that such patriots were not born proper northern stock, too weak or too slight to be disfavored. The Scarlet Chorus is the best freedom from fealty to the younger realms. Not everyone has the fortune of gaining Tunan's favor. Tearsmen would disfavored turn away all the people of the tears. That seems selective to the point of foolishness. Average fear. Tearsmen will only be a weak link in the disfavored shield wall. Gain average loyalty. Yes, the North is our shared link, our consistency. How can I trust a woman or a man to hold the shield wall if I don't understand their customs? Enough about the Scarlet Chorus.
Let's move on to another matter.
What can you tell me of tears? uphill both ways and full of dumb sods. I learned some history and training. I've been here for a few years, but I'm no expert. What is your assessment of the local forces? There was a time early in the war when I feared the younger realms working together. Imagine that. Once I saw the modest scope of their defense, I knew that they would be easily outclassed. They couldn't even rally their best to make a competent stand. Tell me of the Vendrian Guard. They used to be the Queen's Royal Army of the Vendrian. I guess defeat inclined them to a shorter name. We crushed them back in 429. I'm proud to say I took part in that decisive battle. Tell me about the Unbroken Union of Stalwart. May they rot in the decrepit of their fallen realm. Barik squeezes his fist. Much of it pains me to admit. In all the realms of the tiers, the Unbroken have been the only foe worthy to meet the disfavored in battle. Who are the Unbroken? The Unbroken Legion was proud and an accomplished army of the realms of Stalwart. Citing their victories as evidence of skill, they prided themselves on never facing defeat while fighting on home soil. After the Edict of Storms tore apart Stalwart and twisted into the blade grave, barely a 20th of the Unbroken's former strength survived to continue the war against Kairos' forces. The Unbroken value tradition just as we do. Stalwart never lost just a war on their own soil. Reputation they take quite seriously. It is fortunate that Stalwart has poor relations with all its neighbors. The rest of Tiers will not come to their aid. So as bravely as they fight, their end is inevitable. What can you tell me about the Bronze Brotherhood? Mercenaries from the free cities, the chorus needed extra muscle, and you can always mint new rings. Hard to believe the Tiersmen turned on each other for mere loops of metal. The Bronze Brotherhood. Worship scourges, yes, those monsters from the old walls. The mercenaries are grown adults and willingly admire a magical abomination. Read into that what you will. The Bronze Brotherhood is a mercenary company from the free cities dotting the Tiers southern coastline. Many of the mercenary companies were employed by Kairos' agents and slaughtered during the war. The Bronze Brotherhood survived thanks to their relatively safe position, posting at Lethern's Crossing, where the Voices of Nurat hired the company to help protect the town's forge operation. Among the most trained and dedicated warriors of the Tiers, the Bronze Brotherhood have a reputation for ruthlessness and tenacity. Aggression and decisive thinking are so highly prized by the Brotherhood that the violent and enigmatic Scourge is the group's mascot, a creature most decent folk. Is that the enigmatic Scourge is the group's mascot? A creature most decent folk consider the stuff of nightmares. The term brother is used for the mercenaries of both genders, as the company's title harkens back to an archaic notion of living as men in Tiers custom that amounts to releasing all claims to the land, to better assure an employer that the Brotherhood won't covet the realms they've been paid to protect. Alright. That said, it should surprise no one that the Bronze Brotherhood eventually wanted more than just rings and turned on their contract. Kairos now considers them an enemy, which is for the best. The Overlord needs a better class of combatants. Back to my previous question. What do you know of the younger realms? Before we marched on the bastard tier, I recall Ashengrave giving us a speech as we stood assembled at Fort Resolution. He told us the younger realms lacked the sense to make a stand against us. I don't think I need to point out that the average Tiersman is just plainly inferior to the sons and daughters of the North. For every one of ours they kill, we must drag 1.5 scores of bleeding into the soil with us. What do you know about the Beastmen? They drilled us in Beastmen combat before the invasion, but it did little to prepare us. The local savages are lacking in brains, hygiene, and the ability to arm themselves, yet the prime hunters of their species are formidable. Aside from being rapacious killers, the Beastmen make good haulers and laborers. Once you've killed the half that won't follow orders. Enough about the Tiers. You seem like a capable fighter. I trained with a spear and shield in my youth, but I gave it up the day I'd earned disfavored iron. I still can throw with some accuracy, but it's a challenge these days. He knocks twice on his helmet. Were you interested in a sparring session? Show me how a northerner would impale a wild boar. I heard rumor that Ash was an unbeatable sword fighting technique, perhaps later. I'll save it and do that in a little bit. Let's discuss some immediate concerns. What do you think of our circumstance? The edict left little room for confusion. A representative of the overlords must breach the Ascension Hall before Kairos' Day of Swords, and must assume death is the price of failure. We should assist the disfavored in their siege preparations, as only the Legion should take the Will's fortified citadel. I wouldn't wager a wooden ring that the Scarlet Chorus impressing anyone but the vultures. What are your thoughts on me and my deeds? Any reservations I have aside, your military record speaks for itself. You are Tunon's fate binder, and opinions on the matter don't come into it one way or the other. What do you think of our traveling companions? I am more accustomed to traveling with a company of soldiers, so I'm out of practice judging the worth of civilians and miscreants. If you had any particular in mind, I will give them some thought. What do you think of Verse? I try not to. She is a force of chaos, an agent of the voices of Norat. Taking her into our confidence can only lead to ruin. And yet she is a capable fighter. For the time being, I'm confident that you can trust her to serve your interests and rely on her skills in the battlefield. She may even offer some useful perspectives on the war. All right. I got some loyalty out of that. We got Iron Storm. Once per rest, swords and javelins emerge from Barik's armor. Emerge from his armor and fly into a cloud of iron above the Fate Binder. These weapons begin to rain down and storm around the Fate Binder, damaging enemies nearby. Crazy. Iron Storm. I got so many skills. It's crazy in this game. You just earn them all the time. All right.
Will do.
Nice long conversation. Let's save it and do the training with that guy before we forget to do it at all. See what kind of training we got with him.
My Lord Binder, you have something which requires... What can I do for you?
More than capable fighter. Let's see. Let's do the sword fighting technique. Actually, no, Pale of Boar I think is better because we're a javelin person. Be my pleasure. It's a traditional hunting technique, but I've used a time or two in the arena. Gain 5 two-handed weapon skill ranks. Demonstrates a clever move, a spear, where he baits enemy in by dropping the defense, then follows through by extending the weapon through a graceful plunge. He executes the maneuver several times, and you are taken aback by his grace. When you are finished, Barik looks at you with northern horizon, thoughtful sign saying more. I don't know if I wanted two-handed. Let me see. Yeah, I don't really use two-handed stuff. Let's just reload and choose the other direction.
My Lord Binder, what can I do for you?
Sword fighter technique. 5 one-handed skill ranks. Takes up a sword and offers several practice jabs, testing its weight and balance. Before you know what to expect, the gleaming iron whips through the air fast enough for a sharp breeze to disturb the air. Barik does it several times more, never showing any sign of exhaustion. Nice.
Let's be off.
Alright, I think we've done everything we need to do on this map, so I'll stop the episode here and be back next time as we continue to explore. Thanks for watching. See ya.